The only comment I had was the revenue was down across the board.
The comment I had, revenues 27K on the budget.
In every line item.
Operating.
Yeah.
We said we were gonna review this after a certain period of time. Do we have a time frame when we're gonna actually dive into it?
Wait, one at a time, guys. Okay? All right, Sherry, go ahead.
We had talked over the year that we were gonna, track this and then take a deeper dive into it after the year. Do we have a time frame where, the little group that wants to do that or?
I don't know that we have, I don't recall having established a time frame. I would throw it out to the committee and say, what do you think would be an appropriate, length of time between the beginning of the fiscal year and a point in time where we want to make an assessment of the racket sports?
Yeah, since the change was done.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I would offer that getting ready for budget prep in September, the idea would be maybe by next month, we put an agenda item out there that says a review and discussion of the racket sports.
And how it's really doing and if there should be any action.
Any thoughts on that?
Wait until July or the end of August. Should be able to, pretty good idea because summer's over.
Mm-hmm.
They said at the last budget meeting that they were gonna have a marketing campaign
Mm-hmm.
starting in March. And so time to look at how that's working out.
All the amenities are plus Cs for the year to date versus last year to date. This one's down, but it's only down $9,000,
Right.
which isn't a huge amount considering
Agreed.
the large change that they made with the way bracket sports was yes,
Fee-based.
made into different classifications of membership. So maybe they're rebounding, maybe we need to go back and look at last year, or when we years back, when it was the other way, when the membership was done the other way, see how that compares with this, but just year over year seems a huge difference. $9,000 out of 142,000. So.
The other thing is, it's kind of huge when you're looking at trying to repay the expenses of building the new building and the money that we put into it. We gotta compare all those expenses to see what we're really doing.
So any other comments? So to summarize, and I guess we should make sure the minutes reflect this, is that we're going to agree to put an agenda item in next month's meeting to review year-to-date aspects of the racket sports as part of the budget preparation process. Everybody okay with that? Okay. All right. Anything else on racket sports? All right. Next item is aquatics. Put one comment in my notes, doing well. Doing well.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on aquatics? Move to combined golf ops. Any comments on that? All right, I have one, my notes. Go ahead, Randy.
It's the first time I've seen where they've actually not been ahead of their revenue budget. But they are ahead from last year.
Anything else? Well, Mike note was revenue was under budget 40K for the month and 66K year to date, but again, so early in the fiscal year, it's just a point in time, all right? And and who knows if I think the package season, Frank, it's October, right? The end of September, October, so that ought to.
Give them boost. They were up 24,000 over last year.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Still doing.
Yeah, they're doing fine. I just what's interesting is if you look at the year-to-date expenses, it's 43K more than last year at this time. So is that significant? Is that are they doing?
Yeah.
And it's not related to irrigation projects. So
No, I would say look at spraying and
Trying to do,
that kind of maintenance that
Yeah.
they do. It's the chemicals are expensive.
yeah,
Whenever you get into spraying and taking care of. the
yeah, and I guess it,
Crabgrass and stuff like that. And I'm sure pushes up the services and supplies, I would think, might show up there.
right, and that may be a salient point for budget prep, where you're looking at saying, hey, let's look at the numbers from last year, yeah.
It's like we're 25,000 down in services and supplies.
Yeah.
That could be a.
So, yeah, so again, just kind of something to keep an eye on, again, part of the budget preparation process, but, and again, just a point from a, outsider's point of view, I know John and his team will take care of it regardless, it'll come out fine, it's just that, we just kind of look at it and say, okay, could this be an issue? Probably not, but, all right.
It's 74,000 actual, and the budget was only 49,000 for services and supplies. So, they did spend a whole bunch of extra money.
Yeah.
on Something.
Yeah, maintenance is fine, but the expenses on services and supplies was way up, but hey, again, it could be, maybe he's treating a condition that just
Yeah.
popped up. And rather than call it an emergency, we'll call it a, point in time change in the approach to operating that environment, so. All right, anything else on combined golf ops? All right, next item is beach parking. Okay, we'll wait until the July report. Yeah, I see no issue with, with beach parking. Anything else? All right, next item is marinas. My note says fuel sales are 24K ahead of budget for the month, and the net op year to date is 40K better than last year. So is that due to rising fuel costs? Because if the fuel costs have gone up, people are probably still buying the same amount of gas, or same amount of fuel, just it's generating more revenue, I guess. I don't know. It'd be interesting to look at that from a
Cost them more to buy them.
comparative point. In other words, how many can you figure out how many gallons are purchased year to date last year versus year to date this year? It's like 25,000 gallons for this year. They only bought 22,000 gallons, but we're making more money. So
The question on the vending and merchandise.
Yep.
I know that we used to have that little area in the yacht club and now that it's been turned into like a bottle shop or something. Do they have the merchandise in there now for people to purchase or? where is it?
that's a good. I don't know. I probably, but I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that. That's something we probably just need to check on.
Because that could hurt maybe merchandise if people don't go into the liquor store.
Yeah.
It might just need to be relocated or maybe make people aware of where the merchandise is. If people do like, the vending and the merchandise. I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the actuals on, under the revenue side there, that, they did pretty good for the month. They are year to date, they're just only $300 or less than $300 from where they were last year. So again,
Well, that bottle shop just went in, so we need more time to
the
see.
question would be,
If we could find out how much
3 months from now, yeah.
what the merchandise was and where it would be
Yeah.
relocated, so people know where it is.
yeah, it's more of an operational issue.
Okay.
That's kind of like, we would just kind of look at it and say, okay, maybe who knows, maybe they abandoned merchandise sales there.
Yeah.
That could be, and it's an operational decision, not ours.
Yeah, but it will show in the budget here.
Yeah. Yep. All right, anything else on marinas? Okay. Next page is the reserves. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Got a pretty 9.7 million in the reserves, but it's early in the year and there are lots of planned expenditures coming up. So any questions on reserves in June? Okay. Next item is the capital expense sheet. New capital, go ahead.
The year-to-date actuals. Well below what the budget.
Oh, good. Okay.
You got my specs?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, I thought it was you that said that you're gonna be late.
yeah, I got extra torture at PT this morning.
So Clyde, just to catch you up, we are almost done the June reports. We'll brief you at the end of the meeting about one of the things we decided for next month. Not a big deal.
Okay.
Not a big deal. Sherry's got, is taking a thing. Under a new capital, Randy, go ahead.
Just that the, year-to-date actual or well below the, budget.
Yeah, you're right, if you look at it, but one of the interesting things is, under food and beverage, there was 250K, in the ballot, in the budget for, new capital, and right now it's at 292, so there's a little bit over, I guess we're just some costs that, needed, and that's for the new outdoor kitchen, the 292 number, so, again, predicting something like that, in any construction, Frank, you're plus or minus 10% at least, not 15%. So, not an issue at all. Anything else on capital? Good. Next item is the cash investments. Pretty healthy right now, 17.9 million. I think our treasurer will report that, or did report that at the meeting. Any questions on our cash positions? All right, next and last piece of the report here is the membership report. Any questions on that one? Okay,
Declining there. First time ever I saw it off, I've had any decline, only 3.
yeah. Family members.
That's where you're gonna see that, where we're gonna do as part of the study is the membership for backup sports.
Yeah. Any other comments on the membership report? All right, move to you guys got I sent you the supplemental reports for June, correct? With, golf. Huh?
We didn't get a balance sheet
Yeah, we didn't get a balance sheet for June, but we did get one for July, so, okay, it was an oversight or whatever, but, yeah. So with, for the supplemental reports called maintenance, anything in there? And then, rec and parks. I have a comment on rec and parks. Hey, they're doing well, they're on budget. This was for again, the June report. Okay. Anything else on supplementals? All right. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, and that is the review and discussion of July. Before we do that, let me do one thing. So we can get it on the record. We did get answers to our questions from the June meeting. We asked about the 200K year-to-date variance in police. He said it was open positions. It's fine.
Question on that. Like, if you have a suggestion about that, do we bring it up here because it would affect the budget, or do you just bring it up in info? Because we seem to be budgeting for, and this is the police, right? We budget for what, 14 or 16 positions, I think, but we only have like 5 or 6 positions. Has there been any consideration to take and hire maybe 5 high-level security guards that could actually work with the police and they could encourage them, as opposed to waiting to see if they're going to go to the academy, then we lose them to, is there any, thought process there? Because then you have security guards that are working with the police can be doing what they're doing, but security, I think the community would feel safer as well.
Yeah, I don't know enough about what role a security guard could play. What kind of liabilities from an insurance perspective that would come up because of that
Right, I
arrangement.
was looking into marital law and everything, that would have to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, and at the risk of, again, I'm very, very adamant about not making operational decisions.
Yeah.
But one of the things that could be a suggestion in the guidance to the board for budget prep. Okay, that's something to consider. You know, again, one of the things that report or that guidance that we give is give them something to think about from a little bit different perspective. You know, after reviewing the budget for the entire year, looking at trends and analyzing those trends, and that's part of our committee responsibility is to, you know, we don't necessarily have to, you know, demand that a change be enacted. We're just making a recommendation based on our analysis. So the idea would be that something like that may, may be an appropriate recommendation to the board.
Because it could be a mentoring program and then they just,
Yeah.
go into,
Yeah, and I don't wouldn't want to get into too much detail. I would make a very general comment because again, not part of the operations environment. So the idea would be looking at potential, solutions, to address, this issue and leave it at that. And let the operations folks, with their thinking caps on, which they usually do, come up with something. So. All right, so the other question was the 500K variance in net up from last year. So our question was the variance a result of a number of different circumstances between the budgets for the 2 previous years or from another set of factors? And the answer was yes, due to prior year favorability, which is utilized to address maintenance and infrastructure through the assessment. So please note this is converged through the year and the GM board updates. So, I get the answer. If someone was very sort of detail oriented, they might want to get a different answer or at least get more information. Me, okay, it's fine if something comes up. Again, it's not a problem. It's just that I'm not sure. When it says was there a variance, was the variance a result of a different circumstances? Yes. Okay, so it was, and prior year favorability and maintenance and infrastructure issues. So that's the way I get it. These other 3 were pretty easy. We wanted to make sure that all the memberships terminate at the end of the fiscal year, and that's correct. The answer is yes. And if our amenity memberships prorated, someone signs up after the beginning of the fiscal year, and the answer is yes. And then the revenue from the Secrets parking lot, it's combined into the total revenue. Where it is. Because in the budget, it's listed as 2 things. The report just lists total revenue, which is, I think is fine. All right. Next item on the agenda is the review and discussion of the July report. Usual July report. All right, reporting and operating fund variance, positive of 49K. So expenses were a little bit more than they anticipated. They're still way ahead of the budget. Any questions on that one? Next item is the operating account summary year to date. Pretty same information month to month, pretty much. All right. Oh, you got it? Okay. Next page is the operating results.
Couple of things, Doug. Under CPI. You see that miscellaneous
Income,
11,000. It's not a big number with the size budget that we have. But does anybody know what that miscellaneous is? Does anybody have any experience as to what that might reflect? CPI is like inspections and they collect $1,800 when you're gonna build a house and stuff like that. Flows in and flows out. Right, isn't that what CPI is?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it could have been fees for, say, tree cutting, and some other things that they do. I get where you're going with it. Again, I hate to sound like I'm at arm's length with that, but especially given the size of the number, we don't have to get down to the level of
No.
detail that says, how many rolls of toilet paper did they use?
The way I phrase the question is anybody sitting around the table. That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah, I don't.
I understand. We don't want to be nitpickers.
Yeah,
That's exactly right. We're not interested in that.
Yeah.
But I just thought maybe somebody might know what that miscellaneous could represent, that's all. And $11,000 is not a big deal. Now, the other one I had on that was, and that's, I guess it's kind of an operational question, and maybe it's none of my business. But it had to do with, fuel. Down there by the marinas,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see the, fuel sales net 40,828.
Right.
Yeah, looking back, that's a pretty good number. So I guess my question is, because of what we've gone through with what's happening in the world, that gas prices have gone like straight up and then straight down, then straight up and then straight down. Do we do the same thing on the dock? In other words, if we have an X gallon tank of gasoline at $3 or $300 or $3 a gallon, and we sell it for $4, or do we just sell what our cost of inventory is?
That I don't know, but I would assume that, we buy fuel at a discounted price with the idea of being able to generate revenue off of the fuel sales. I mean, if you look at, if you look on the report for marinas, you'll see revenue, from fuel sales. Now, the one thing that, to answer your question, and again, I don't know, again, looking at an operational issue and kind of a philosophy on how somebody wants to do that. The idea is they paid X amount of dollars for all the inventory that's in the current tank right now. Okay, so that's a static number. Okay, I
That's
got 10,000 gallons at $3.
That's right.
Now all of a sudden,
The
you're selling
market
it.
goes to $4.
Yeah, and we were selling at 3. Well, if the market goes to 4, do you go and charge
That's
4
my-
independently of the $3 that
That's
you
my
spent?
question.
And I think the answer is yes, So, Colette? Hold on.
I think we should put that to the board. But, what's our policy? Do we follow the market or do we base our pricing on
Okay.
what we
Got
spend?
everyone's stuff. Go ahead.
Well, let's look at the contra. Suppose it's an accommodation to the members. That, hey, we're gonna hold our prices for our members.
Okay. Bob?
Two things. You have 10,000 gallons, you pay $3 a gallon, you're down to 5, you get your next fuel in at the higher price. How do you adjust? I mean, are you gonna adjust at the new price, or you're gonna stay with the old price? Conversely, when it starts dropping, that's the question you have now at the gas station. Plus, you gotta pay labor to pump the gas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's an operational issue. I don't quite know how they do it. We're trying to accommodate the members, but we certainly don't want to lose money accommodating.
Right. Randy?
We paid quite a bit more this year filling up than we did last year. Yes, in the market.
Yeah, so the market price would definitely affect it. So the question would be, and Colette, just from a personal perspective, I like that approach. Maybe we should just better understand what the policy is from an operational perspective. Again, going into budget prep, because remember, we advise the board. So the idea would be looking at that and saying, hey, is this a sound policy? And I'm going to suspend Robert's Rules of Order. Monica?
I'm pretty sure it is market pricing, and I will follow up, but I know when I went and got my jet ski filled up, then I had to fill it up again, the price was up.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
now I'll probably fill it up this weekend again, and then we'll see where it is.
All right, reestablishing Robert's Rules. Colette?
Yeah, so just to follow up on my own question, I think it would be good to know, there are a lot of ways of looking at how to, deal with this fluctuation in gas prices. And I think we, deserve an answer as to whether the policy is to lean toward benefiting our members, or just simply following the market.
Yeah, I guess if I were to be argumentative, well, how much of our fuel sales go to folks that are not members?
Yeah.
In other words, and do they You know, I don't know that anybody shows an OP card, gets a 10-cent discount. Right, so you have no idea tracking that information. So somebody can go back and say,
Great idea.
85% of the people that buy gas are not from Ocean Pines.
They are not, and we have.
Okay, I'm just,
Well,
again,
that's right. No, I mean, it's.
philosophically be
They're not.
argumentative and say, you know, so, you know, that's something that we need to think about, you know? And,
Whereas if we have the best price on the bag.
yeah, which would,
When I had a boat over at the marina, my own boat, Ocean Pines always had the best gas prices. So why would I want to go down to the inlet and buy gas when I buy at Ocean Pines?
Sure.
But everybody else that isn't members,
But I think it deserves a board discussion for them to
Yeah.
think about, you know, do they need to track membership versus non-member? You know, how do they want to approach? We do want to make money, but again, our amenities are not profit centers. They're meant to cover expenses. And if the larger community benefits from our low prices and we still cover expenses with some margin above that, you know, what's the policy?
all right, we'll make that as one of the, questions then, just didn't get an answer on that one. Okay, so, we're still on operating results. Jack, anything else?
No, not area, no.
Okay. Next item is net operating by department.
Again, I'm gonna need the help of this group, the committee. Go to compliance/permits. Because of my background in commercial banking, I focus on actual numbers, not necessarily budgets and budget variances, because I view budgets as a management tool. You create a budget to incent people to make their budget. So on the compliance permits, you'll see that for the month actual, we had $14,000 in income or revenue, and they were expecting 8,800 in negative income, that is expenses. So add those two together, you get 22,000, very simple. But then we come to the year-to-date actual and it says 1,788. And where I'm confused is, how could you have 14,000 in monthly income, yet year-to-date actual, which would be May, June, and July, you only have $1,788. I don't know, I'm just not understanding how it reads, that's all. And it may be a perfectly logical answer. I just don't,
Expenses.
Hmm?
Prior month expenses. And no income.
Good speculation. So I guess this is a question.
Well, and going back to timing, you know, when expenses,
We have them.
so, you know, when expenses are booked, you know, they might not be consistent with when the revenue that was received is booked as well. Right? In other words, they're still waiting on some revenues, you know, kind of like you pay for the, the materials and stuff, but you're still waiting on,
Of course.
some more stuff to come in. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting observation, but you're right. It could be that maybe we should just, just get an explanation for that, just to make sure it is prior month expenses with no income. Well,
And Sherry raises a good point that we have prior month data. And is that homework we should be doing before we show up here when we have those questions? Look at prior month instead of kicking it all to the board or to operations to answer that kind of question we could answer for ourselves.
It's just looking at year-to-date actual, it's 12,255 negative.
yeah, I mean, the year-to-date numbers show that. That's one of the triggers I use, is year-to-date numbers going forward. So,
Yeah.
June kind of shows that. Go back to June.
All right, do we want to just ask a question about that? We'll speak at once.
Well, we could actually take, year-to-date every single month, we have all the reports. that we could-
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, just, simple explanation for the, $1,788 balance year-to-date actual and compliance and permits for the month of July. How is it calculated? Year-to-date's supposed to be cumulative, right?
Yeah. Okay. Good, I'm sure again, it's something pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I'll give Steve something to do.
Yeah, my notes on this one was, if you look at the year-to-date, total net op is 85,000 better than last year. Right, so again, it's early on. All of the events that are planned for the entire fiscal year have not yet happened, but, it's interesting. And again, going back to what I said earlier about, aquatics, their total net op is, 25K better than this time last year. So, you know, again, and the reason I kind of noted that was, you know, the increase in the water rates, you know, in other words, you're still showing a positive. So how much of an impact, you know, has that had? And the question is, I don't know, but it's good to know that they are doing well. So anything else on net operating? Okay. Next item is the operating summary. And see anything out of whack there, Randy?
Year-to-date net revenue is down 150,000 from last year.
Mm-hmm.
Year-to-date expenses up 200,000. The budgeting.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, and again, not trying to dismiss stuff like that, but I'm very much into the beginning of the fiscal year, you know, is kind of in my world of, you know, when I manage
Right.
budgets for a living and things like that, you know, are reflective of the things that you had anticipated when you prepared the budget. As you move forward, now you're also reacting to things that were unanticipated, you know, changes in culture, focus, you know, financial stability of your investments and so on and so forth. So you adjust accordingly. So that's why it's good to note these things, but you know, as you get further and further in the fiscal year, I think that balance shifts to
That's right.
addressing things that are more current than what you had anticipated. You know?
Let me ask a question then. Do they do a mid-year adjustment of their budget?
That's not first. We always did that. We did the 6-month forecast, you know, what changed between the time we created this budget, which was 12 months ago. You know, if I could predict the future, I'd be playing the lottery, I'd be sitting on a beach with a drink with an umbrella sticking out of it. You know? So, you know, at the end of the day, that, you know, but again, I think that's a philosophy of the operational department. If they believe in the 6 months, that maybe they're ongoing, maybe they adjusted month to month. I don't know. Again, it's not our responsibility. It's just our, you know, we look at the numbers. Bob.
What they're really doing with John and his team, every year they're producing a profit out of the budget. So they're doing something right. They're adjusting within the budget internally, so you don't really need to re-budget as long as you control expenses.
I'm sure many of us sitting in this room have taken, you know, a bucket of money that was, you know, identified to do this, and because it changes 7 months in, you're going, I'm gonna move the money from here to here to address another condition. Moving money around and within the budget, staying within the budget guidance, you know, you're not asking for more money, you're just moving it around and shifting it to address the situation that's more current than it was when you created the budget in the first place.
Yeah, and you know, when I have sat in John's office and asked him questions like this, and when he has given his monthly report to the board, it always reflects the fact that he's moving money, you know, as needed to create the operational.
Which would kind of support the idea that his philosophy is to do shifting and budget adjustments as they come up, rather than waiting and doing one in 6 months, you know, and it's just a different style, and that's fine. I mean,
It's cash accounting.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's cash accounting. I think that they do incorporate some accrual
Mhm.
accounting, but it's basically cash in and cash out.
Okay. Anything else on operating summary. All right. Next item is racket sports. We've talked that one day.
I think we're saying we'll hold out until September and
It's in repeat from
then dig into it.
Yeah. Yeah, and just pull it for your information. So one of the things we discussed before you got here was the suggestion that we take the agenda for September and include an item to do a little bit deeper dive into racket sports with the idea of trying to get as much information as possible for budget prep. So there'll be an item on the agenda next month to specifically address racket sports. Okay. That'll show up in a minute. All right, nothing else on racket sports. The next item is aquatics. It jumps out there at aquatics. All right, anything else? All right, next item is combined golf ops. I do have a note on that one. It is, you know, given what we saw a little bit of a, I don't want to call it a decline, but, you know, it wasn't performing as it did last year. This month, it kind of caught up a little bit. So it's not, it's only slightly down now, year to date as compared to.
I can't believe that.
Okay, make it bigger, make it.
Okay, that's good.
Anything else on combined golf ops? All right, next page is beach parking. Speaks for itself. I think it's looking at it as right on budget.
My question there is, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
The budget, when they put the budget together, you have two elements to it. You have lease and you have parking.
Right.
What comprises lease? Is that the building lease?
No, that's the money we get from secrets.
So that is a deferred income because that one appears every month throughout the year almost consistently.
Yeah.
And then the other one, parking is all from our membership. Right? Membership for anybody that.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that the parking revenue includes people that walk in here and buy a parking pass for the weekend and stuff. So, yeah, you know, and I don't know, I mean, I'm sure they could get that level of detail. How many
I
people
don't
really?
think we need it.
Yeah, I don't think we need it either.
Yeah.
You know, but I think, and again, I'm not speaking for John's team, but there's two items there, and I think the reason for that is to signify that we have a lease. So you got the parking revenue and you got the lease revenue, okay? So that's kind of tells the board, by the way, there's a contract that we have with Secrets that's going to generate income based on our contractual agreement. When you get to the monthly reports, it's not as important, at least in my opinion, to say, oh, well, we got this amount of money from the, you know, for the parking and this amount of money from lease. It's just total revenue. I think it's easier on the team, you know, to say, hey, again, you get the lease payments, you got the payments that the people who bought the parking pass, you got payments or revenue from people that, you know, are walking up to the admin building and buying it that day. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to put any additional burden on the,
No,
on staff. I'm fine with, unless the recommendation would be, you know, future committees could say, hey, we'd like to see two of them. I don't know. The board may say, I want to see two of them. You never know.
Probably not.
so they're actually treating the secret's income as deferred income and crediting every month. And then the
Mhm.
membership income, if somebody buys a membership, that's expense or listed as revenue in the month, or is that deferred?
I don't know. I don't know, because you know, in the world that we've all should been in, is like sometimes you'll take revenue and you'll spread it out
Right.
over a longer period.
As
You
you're-
know, I'll book, you know, 1/12 of the revenue in month one, and I'll just
Yeah.
go versus, you know, and again, it shows, oh, well, gee, I got all this revenue now, all of a sudden, wait a minute, where's all my revenue? You know, it's just
It's, yeah,
spreading it out over a period of time does make sense. So. Anything else on beach parking? All right, next item is marinas. Have a note here, fuel sales and overall revenue continue well, and year-to-date net op is 86K better than last year. And the answer is, okay,
Right.
is that because of, you know, it costs more to buy the same amount of fuel?
That's right.
Anything else on marinas? Okay, next sheet, here you go, Randy, we got a balance sheet this month. Anything that, sticks out?
Cash down quite a bit. It's a good balance sheet.
Yeah, yeah. Jack, if you look at undercurrent asset inventory for fuel, look at the difference in the number from year to date last year to this year.
But I have a question.
Wait one second. 1 second. Year to date last year was 66K, this year it's 108K, so there you go. Colette, go ahead.
I wonder what that donated property is under fixed assets, investment in fixed assets. Anybody know what that is?
There,
It's, right here, 108,
big number.
versus 66. See,
You know, I don't know. I'm not gonna, I thought I knew what that meant, but I'm not gonna.
Does
Yeah,
it have
that's
anything to do with
Yep.
the memorial park? That man? That's the only thing I.
They
they-
just-
Which is donating.
Yeah,
They use it's our property.
Yeah, That's a good question. that's a, I
I'd
don't
like
know, I
to
don't know
know
the
the
answer to that.
answer.
I don't know. All right. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the balance sheet? All right, next item is the reserves. Pretty straightforward. Any questions on the reserves?
So we see the number here. Do we, want to like constantly look at the DMV study to make sure we're in line with that as well with the reserve?
I think that's a question that we just sort of, not a question, I think it's something we advise the board, just some, are we consistent with the results and the recommendations from the DMA study?
Especially since our DMA study is so new. Yeah, we said that. Okay,
Yeah, something that we.
Are you talking about monthly?
no, just
No, just
overall, to
And-
make sure we're constantly in line with the DMA study.
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
actually, maybe, that might be something for, say, 6 months in. The idea would be, because, again, yeah, we're getting ready to, and it's nitpicking, I guess, would be the idea would be 6 months in. I think it's much more valid to ask that question than in month one.
Yeah, but it is a 5-year study,
Yeah.
right? So, even 6 months or a year. so
Well, it's got to be done every 5 years.
Right, so I mean, so it won't be done again for another 5 years.
Yeah, but it might take them,
So,
it might take them.
We have the 5-year.
Yeah.
Imaging.
Yeah, it might take 5 years to, in month 6 of this fiscal year, they might say, yeah, that's 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, that was just my point, the timing is everything with this.
Yeah.
We have some big ticket items that we have committed to using reserves to accomplish. But, unforeseen circumstances
Like
affect
the
the
storm and
timing.
things like that.
And like the fire department bill, there's a perfect example. With the compression of the soil, really delayed things.
But we don't want to look at one number and say, well, we are really, we're in good shape. We got tons of money. When it's already committed throughout the DMA study throughout the years. You got to be careful of language as well.
Yeah, and again, another item considered for budget prep. Okay, next item is the capital summary. I just have one comment. Under new capital, if you remember last month, the yacht club outdoor kitchen was 292, and now the outdoor kitchen is listed at 301. So again, my guess is it's timing, more of the invoices, came in, there was a delay in getting invoices, so, again, not a problem, just, I think it's a good example of, timing. I reported X amount of, purchases, but guess what, more of them came in, I didn't get billed, I didn't get built the building, but I'm still getting billed later on for some of these things, so. Anything else on, capital summary? All right. Next item is the cash and investments.
You deal with this still.
Turn it over.
We're at 17 million, I think. Pretty much exactly where we need to be. All right, next item is the membership report. I would agree with others that the racket sports is gonna be very telling, but it's, it's really not that, well, relatively speaking, not that bad, but it's certainly down. And I would, refrain from making a comment at this point until we get more data for, September.
Good breakdown of the beach park.
what's that?
Yeah. That report.
Oh.
The beach park and showing where the revenue is coming from.
Oh, there you go. Interesting, good. Good. All right, anything else on the membership report? Okay. Next item, we'll move to the next item on the agenda. And that is general committee member comments and questions. We go around the room as usual. Randy,
Nothing that,
Frank,
I'm good.
Gary,
We're making money in most all departments.
Black,
I have no comments about this, but I'm happy to see our newest director here.
Jack. Cool. Bob. Okay, I have a comment. This will be my last meeting. Okay, my term is up. And I'm not going to, submit a request to be reinstated on the committee. However, I'm not gonna leave you guys high and dry. I've already prepared an email and it's got 6 documents in it. All right, the email's got the BNF budget guidance that we presented to the board last year that you guys could use as a template. You got the financial, the Budget and Finance Committee annual report that we submitted. And for CO1, we're still required to submit an annual report, so you can use that as another template. The third document I'm including for you guys is the financial policy manual, all right, which is, we're certainly not the custodians, but it's something that we have to have, that we take a look at. And again, part of the overall process, the sort of the understanding what the committee is doing. The fourth document is, this is a minor one, it's the F06, the convenience fee. There's we brought it up to the board last year, and it's nothing more than there's a resolution and it's not numbered. And it's technically it's an F resolution. So all it's doing is saying, change it from convenience fee to F-06 convenience fee. Yeah, no language has changed. But, guys want to take that one forward. We brought it to the board already. Minor issue. It's just a matter of, trying to maintain a consistent naming convention. The fifth document is a spreadsheet that I use. It's called reserves. And basically it's just covered all the reserve balances, the beginning balance, the expenses, and the ending balance since FY19, I think. And then the last document is the latest version of the new capital funding policy that I've got. So that's all of the documents that I'm sending to you guys. I'll send this email in a couple of seconds. Actually, I'll send it from home because I don't know if this will work right. As we talked, make sure we get the one more thing. So if you're looking for somebody to be chair, I know enough member committee. I'm going to recommend Bob for what it's worth. Bob has got a lot of experience, done a lot of different things on it. So just for what it's worth, when they go to consider another chair, it's been interesting. It's been fine. This is my 12th year of service to the community. I'm not quitting because I'm upset about anything. Don't get me wrong. This is great. It's just time to say, hey, I'll take it. Somebody else can take the reins now. And hopefully this background information will be kind of my giving back to the committee to say, hey guys, move forward and everything. This is great. I'm not just cutting you off. So this is certainly, and again, for what it's worth, if there's questions, you know how to get in touch with me and so on and so forth. So I appreciate working with all you guys. Thanks for all your guidance and your help as we do this. But that's it for me. Okay. So wait a minute.
Thanks for
Robert's
your
rules.
leadership. Could you be convinced to stay?
No,
Why?
no.
What do you mean, no?
I'm sorry, it's a simple two-letter word that has meaning. Okay? Okay, answer is no, and I'm not saying that out of spite or upset. I've made a decision, I made it, probably a month or two ago, saying, hey, I want to see the end of my term and
Will
there we
you
go.
continue to be a member of this group?
No, I will not be on the
So you
committee.
will not be affiliated?
Yeah, my term on the committee is up in September.
I understand.
So, and
Beyond that,
I'm not gonna, only, in the sense that if you call me and I can answer a question for you, I certainly will do that.
so you're divorcing yourself from all activity in this committee.
I'm trying to make this a positive exit and you're turning it into.
We have to be realistic about that, okay? I mean, to me, I think you've done a very, very good job at what you've done over the years, regardless of where you serve.
Mhm.
That
Thank you.
being said, it might behoove this committee as a benefit if you gave us another year just as a member. Just as a member, just to give us a little bit of background and guidance. And, nobody is gonna ask you if you're 3 minutes early or 3 minutes late or anything of that nature. It'll be a lot more loosey-goosey.
I appreciate the request. However, I've made my decision. And again, it's not out of anything. I just, it's time to, sit back and hopefully, people, I will keep in touch of the budget preparation process and so on and so forth.
Well,
I'm
you
not
can do
turning my
that
back
by
completely.
staying a member. That's all I'm saying.
No. Colette,
Thank you for 12 years
Oh,
of service.
you're-
That's remarkable.
you're
And
welcome.
I certainly.
My hair was a different
understand
color
You are
12
not
years ago.
divorcing us. You are
No.
going into a new phase.
No, and thank you for that. It's exactly, it's exactly, divorcing is not the right word. It's just I'm stepping away, with hopefully giving you
No, I
guys as much as I can. And
No,
at the end of the
I
day,
got
I'm
it.
still available to take questions and so on. So we're more than happy to do that. And yes, I will sit in the meetings for budget prep and kind of